Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm very pleased to have Carissa Ruiz as my guest today. Carissa is a certified personal trainer and health coach, certified in nutrition and trained in functional movement systems. She specializes in senior fitness and injury rehabilitation. After years of trying to figure out the contradictions of fitness in the media, Carissa went to the source and signed up for college courses that would teach her the science of the body, movement, and exercise. She decided to become a personal trainer to help others learn how to use their body more effectively to become stronger, healthier versions of themselves. This passion helped her develop a streamlined exercise routine that focuses on the body from the inside out. With her routine, she has had seniors who were using walkers not need them anymore, clients with herniated discs be able to bend and lift weight without pain, those with knee problems whose doctor said they needed surgery no longer need the surgery, and clients with cancer gain strength again. People with anxiety and intestinal issues have reported great improvement as well. Carissa does not claim to cure ailments, but has learned that mindful core exercises and movement is the foundation to strength and cardio training and has benefits for all body types. Welcome, Carissa, and thank you so much for joining me today to discuss your unique take on exercise and fitness.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
So, to get started, let's start with just something that's perhaps a bit controversial, but something that you and I have discussed before. What is your opinion of the viewpoint from some parents and caretakers of people with special needs that say they prefer to keep the person unfit so that they are easier to physically control? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was alarmed that this happened in real life to me when I didn't even realize this was an issue. And I had a father come, and he wanted to put his child with me to train. And a week later, his mom came in and said, absolutely not. I can't handle him to be strong. And I was not aware of that. And then I had talked to some other people and I found out that this actually is out there, that it's not preferable for some parents to have their kids stronger. And I personally have seen, and the studies have seen, that actually keeping them fit is a benefit to the parent, even though they may have a fit and can hit you back. And I know that can be an issue, but having them fit so they can walk and you're not dragging, or that they can roll over on their beds, or even just something as simple as little tasks that they can do that are fine motor skills, they also feel more competent and more independent. So fitness does have a benefit to special needs of all spectrums of special need cases. And they report being happier and feeling more satisfied of the kids who they have studied. So there are a few studies out there from the late 90s that show that it is a benefit to keep them fit.
I would think so. I mean, I completely agree with you. It doesn't make any sense because, look, you're not trying to make them into bodybuilders or some sort of superhero.
Right.
You're simply keeping them healthy and able to do, like you said, certain simple tasks for themselves. And I would think that the ability to do that, you not only feel better, but again, the issue of self-confidence and self-reliance would definitely play into the happiness factor and into the factor of feeling calmer and more able to interact with their environment and with those around them. So I agree with you entirely. I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with keeping them able to do certain things for themselves, keeping them fit, keeping them healthy, and keeping them happy. So I'm very glad to hear you say that, and I'm also very glad to hear that there are scientific studies that back you up on that.
Yes, there's quite a few, and that's why I had to look into that when I was faced with this controversy. And it was really surprising that inside that one family, one parent felt one way and the other felt the other. And, they have to do what's best for their family. But it was interesting. And when I found out, more information, I did not have that information before. And I felt like I could have better explained to her, no, this is a benefit for you. Whereas before I was just like, okay, I don't know. Okay. I was so new to this controversy that goes on. So now I'm more informed and I can at least stand my ground and go, well, there is benefits, but it's your family.
Mm-hmm. Well, that actually leads me to my next question, which is, what are the building blocks of becoming physically fit, and what are the psychological and physiological effects that movement and exercise have on our bodies?
Oh, this is a great conversation. I love talking about this because most people think fitness as a waist size or trying to look beautiful on the outside, but really it all starts with the inside. What is going on at the beginning of your body, all the way from your skeleton, your ligaments, your tendons, your nervous system, your blood cells, your muscle cells, the cellular tissue. That's where your fitness begins, is in those areas. And so you can start with nutrition being the main building block of all physical fitness, because if you have unhealthy cells, you're not going to have the energy to do the exercises and to keep up on the exercises as your body gets more healthy, and you don't have the nutrition to call for those cells for building blocks. Nutrition is the number one beginning of all physical fitness. And then you have your second part, which is movement. And in the movement area, that's where you think about, how does the nerves move these muscles? There are some muscles in our society that don't even know how to stimulate that muscle anymore. The nerves just don't activate, and you have to literally train the nerve and the muscle to cooperate with each other again. And I see this all the time, especially between the shoulder blades. People cannot pull their shoulder blades closer to their spinal cord because the nervous system doesn't know how to talk to the muscle and pull it back more. There's also your joints. Yeah, it's fascinating. And then you have your joints, where we tend to use our joints as movers when they're designed just to be more like ball and socket movements. And you have your tendons and your ligaments, your muscles. So all these things that cooperate and translate into fitness, true fitness. Then you can worry about the exterior part of your body. But what's going on in the inside will start to bear out what's going on the outside. So I always start with my movement as core-centric. The core is not just your abs. A lot of people will think it's the abs, but it's really 6 parts, main parts to your torso area, from your pelvic area, your diaphragm, your obliques, your spinous erecta, your transverse abdominis. There's all these muscles that have to be trained how to use it. And then once you can get your torso nice and strong and how to maintain its resistance to movement, its strength and ability for holding your torso still during movement, then you can bring in your resistance movements, where you deal with balance and the movement of your body. So when you lift your arms up, there's stability in your whole movement, from the joint to the muscle in the torso. The muscle in your arms to the torso. All of that starts to move in harmony. And then your fitness goes to this whole new level. It's easy to think that fitness is just, hey, I ran 5 miles today, or I did 20 pounds of squat. But I have met people that could squat 130 pounds of weight, but yet couldn't bend over to pick up tissues. And I challenged them, nicely, of course, which is, do you think you're fit if you can't even bend down? Let's start with your core workout. And once we started that, just everything starts to change. So you start with the core movements, and then you branch out to the rest of your body. And once you get into the resistant movement, that's where your balance, your bone strength, your hormones, your anxiety is reduced, you reduce your injuries of movement. That's when it all starts to pull together and everything comes into harmony with your body.
That makes a whole lot of sense to me, especially what you were saying about people who can't even pull their shoulder blades together, because so many people now at their jobs, we're a society now where we're stuck at our desks and we're hunched over our computers, or we're, hunched over our cell phones, or we're just, we're in that so not isometrically friendly position that we spend so many hours in. And that's so unnatural. And so what you're saying actually makes a whole lot of sense. And I also had to chuckle. I thought to myself, yeah, somebody can squat 130 pounds. I'd be very nice to them, too, if I was challenging them to pick up a tissue. But yes, I know because, when I've been in the gym myself and I've seen, these guys that, are just, working on the upper body strength and how big can my biceps get and all this kind of stuff. And everything becomes so out of balance because, okay, maybe you can, bench press, 150 pounds or whatever it is that you can do. But, doing simple tasks in life become difficult because the body is so out of balance and so out of alignment.
Right, which then puts them on a high risk for injury. And then, of course, I always chuckle with them. I'm like, well, don't worry, you're my future client. To move on from that, then the question becomes, how does someone begin if they haven't exercised in a while, or they've never exercised regularly, or they're not really exercising appropriately? And what sort of results can they expect if they stick to the kind of routine you recommend? Because especially a lot of people in the special needs community would fall into that category because they don't exercise regularly. They've never really even been involved in any sort of regular exercise. So they're more or less starting from square one. Right. Exactly. So when I first was going to school for this, my thought was just, weight loss and, aerobics, just kind of what I knew from the early 90s of how fitness used to be. And then it got radically changed when I had to take a course and I had to have a mentor. And she was 82 years old, and she could still squat 75 pounds, and she had both her hips replaced. She had these 75 and 85-year-olds on the floor doing core exercises. And I was just blown away by how she could get these people who had never exercised before to do these exercises that I found challenging. And she taught me and really just explored the capabilities of our bodies with me. And along with all the things I'd been learning in school, marrying those two together, that physical therapy and the challenging of our bodies of we're more healthy, but we just have to use it correctly. As long as your bones aren't changed, as long as they're not deformed or injured, but that they are, your normal bones, your whole body is fixable. And that hope is what then got me started on fixing up a class that would challenge all those ideas of someone with a herniated disc, someone with shoulder problems that, I had one client where she came in and the doctor said she would never be able to raise her arm past her shoulder. And I asked her, are any of your bones deformed? Are they damaged? And she said, no. I'm like, well, then that's just not possible because just the way the body works. And I've been working with her for over 5 years, and she can, pull down weight that's 75 pounds. She can deadlift 85 pounds, and she's 72 years old. So these things are all, how do you start from the body from the very get-go? And with what we did, we laid her on the floor and we taught core classes that she could not injure her back. And that's the beginning of it all, is keeping the spine as neutral as possible and learning to train the abdominals, the pelvic area, your diaphragm, how to hold your torso still. And that's the beginning of it all. So I'll teach this class in clubs, like gym studios. And usually when the first time I teach it, people will laugh or giggle at some of the things I do, because I do something as simple as lay on the floor, both feet flat on the floor so your knees are bent up. And you're going to tighten your abdominals, not suck them in, but tighten them, engage them. And you're going to tap your tummy all around where there's no bone. Just tap around the belly button, tap around where your bladder is, tap the side where you get ticklish. And they giggle and they're like, what's this for? And it's amazing, because usually once they do it for about 3 weeks, they get what it's for. They feel that transverse abdominis that's underneath all the other layers of your abdominal muscles that touches your organs. They feel that it contracts underneath, and that's the support that they're looking for. That's the natural girdle of our body, and it just tightens up once we train it how to contract, and it will hold your whole spine and your abdominals in place, so that the rest of the muscles will take over and help the movement through the rest of the torso. And just something as simple as that, tapping your tummy, and people giggle all the time. I get so much giggling out of it, or questioning of, why are we doing this? And then they always come to appreciate it. And so that's just like one exercise out of many where I've learned, train the body how to stimulate the nerves, how to activate the muscles, and how to have that connection between your mind and your movement, so that they take over, and not just sheer force, not brute force in your body, not momentum, but controlled movements, so that your whole body gets the benefit of the movement.
I really like the way you're describing that, Carissa, because it just sounds so holistic and natural, and just ergonomically correct, and and simple and easy, like you say, something that anyone could do, whether you are 5 or 95, or whether you have ever exercised before, or you're a gym rat, or
exactly.
No matter what, and something that even someone with limited capacity could do to help them be more fit, to help them be more active, to help them be more self-sufficient. I just love what you're describing, which then leads me to ask you, you gave just a couple of little examples, but I would love to hear more. So could you tell us a little bit about the background of how you created your particular routine, how it works, and then some more personal success stories that you've had?
Okay. So this was based off of a lot of research. So I had worked with the mentor, and I loved what she was doing. Some of them seemed a little hard, and I thought, well, I loved her underlining principles. And I had taken Pilates classes before, and I had liked those principles also. And I had taken a yoga class, and all of that seemed like there's elements in it where you go, I can see the benefits. And then it wasn't until I married it with physical therapy, the idea of think about the muscle that you're after. Do the movement that relates to the muscle you're building, and put the components together in the routine. And it pulls together, like, so if I'm just trying to get the obliques, then I'm going to do an exercise where I'm focusing just on the obliques. I'm not trying to combine it with a secondary muscle at that time, because I want the nervous system to learn how to contract and have a relationship with that muscle. Where a lot of times we do a lot of muscles at the same time, and there's nothing wrong with that, because you will graduate to that ability later on. But your first core center, you're trying to build your health, your fitness for long-term success without injury. We want to first have your nervous system know how to translate the movement and activate properly. So it starts with, really, the hinge was creating that physical therapy idea of just narrowing down the muscle you're after, the movement you're after. And it's amazing because I will see people, there's an exercise called clams, and it's where you lay on your side and you have your knees at a 90-degree angle, and then your hip and torso is about a 120-degree angle. And you keep your feet and ankles together while rotating your hip, lifting your knee off the other knee. Hope I'm explaining that so it makes sense.
Yeah, I can visualize that. Yeah.
Okay. And so when most people do it, they just lift their knee up and bring it back down. But what they don't understand is there's an actual muscle that we're after, and it's very specific. And if you lean back just 1 inch back, if you roll back 1 inch back, the muscle we're after no longer is working, and now you're working a different hip muscle. And if you push that client forward that 1 inch, they will feel it in a completely different muscle that's almost 3 inches away from the muscle when they're rolled back. You can see the light bulb go off in their minds like, whoa, wait a second. You mean just a half inch, 1 inch movement changes what it is I'm using? And that's when I want them to see, yep, exactly. You need to have a relationship with your body enough that you can actually know what muscle you're trying to activate, so that when you're in other parts of your life that have the need for that muscle, you know how to lock it down, contract it, and keep your joints safe. Because the whole goal of all of our fitness is to be healthy and not injured. And so you want to have a body that has control of your body. And when you're in those bigger movements, you know how to direct your joints through your muscle use, not through sheer just movement. You can see it in some people who walk, where they use their knees rather than their hip to walk. Their knees are their main stabilizer, and then you find out they have a lot of knee problems. So it bears out that if you can get your torso strong, your core strong first, then everything bears out. And I don't mean to be repeating myself, but that's where it all lies from. And so, like I said, this routine stems from a physical therapy point of view, married with Pilates and married with just a few little movements from yoga, but really most of it's physical therapy. And then I just married it all together and went one muscle at a time. And that's how I built this program. And it has been very successful. Usually the first 3 weeks, if they're doing about 3 times a week, 3 to 6 weeks, everybody's reporting that they feel stronger and that they're more stable, that their balance is getting better. Almost everybody's reporting that they can turn better, that they're not feeling so fatigued. And believe it or not, I hear over and over again that they're not having irritable bowel systems. So I have a lot of people where they do, when I meet them, they will not even tell me that they have bowel issues. And then finally, when it's starting to clear up and they're feeling better, they're like, I didn't want to say it because it was embarrassing, but now I'm feeling better in that area. I'm not having those issues. And I see this over and over again. And then as they're getting stronger, they feel confident to try a little bit more complicated exercises, where before they were more afraid of it because they knew whatever their injury was, whatever their limiting factor was there in their sights. And now they're willing to try it because now they see the success of it. And it does take about 3 to 6 weeks for you to start seeing it. So the first couple of times you're doing it, you're like, why is she having me tap my tummy? Why are my legs up in the air like this? And you can see the hesitation because it is a little different, but it seems to work. I mean, a great example, my most recent right now, is when I had a class of this mobility class right here that I'm talking about. I was gone for a few months, and they were finding such success in it that they did not want the class to stop. So they wrote down all the routine, and they kept it up for themselves and then would check up on me that they were still doing it. And when I came back, they were still doing the same program because they have had such success in it. And that it always just makes me happy that A, it works so well, and that B, that all these people's lives who they thought were going to have time in their life where it was just going to get worse and worse, their things are getting better and better. I've had men cry saying that they feel 10 years younger because of this routine. And so I have seen this routine work very much.
That is a great story. And, you know, again, I know I sound like I'm repeating myself, but it makes so much sense. If your core is strong and if the nerves and the muscles are talking to each other properly, I mean, that's where all your internal organs, you know, are there. Exactly. You know, yes. and if they're being supported properly and getting the proper nutrition and you know, all of that, you know, the rest of the body and the nerves are firing properly and all that kind of stuff, it would make sense that the organs would say thank you, and I'm not going to give you irritable bowel anymore. I'm not going to do all these other things that I was doing before because now you're taking care of me, so I'll take care of you.
Right, and it's also the spinal cord, too. People do not appreciate what our spinal cord does. We don't really stop and think about what's behind us, and you find the majority of people, and usually it's Western cultures, and usually when I'm meeting a new client, I will show them a picture where there's someone from the Western culture and then someone from tribal that still lives in tribes. And the person who lives in the tribe, when they stand perfectly still, they have their shoulders are down and pulled back, and their thumbs are pointing forward, their elbows are pointing backwards, away from them. And they stand with their buttocks tight, and their knees are not locked. But when you see the person from the Western culture, you see their shoulders are hiked up, their neck is pulled forward, their knuckles are facing forward and their elbows are pointing outward. Their buttocks are loose and their knees are locked. This whole dynamic of their skeleton has changed because their neck is pushed forward from the rounding of the shoulders, and it changes the center of gravity. So their whole spinal health is out of alignment. And this is where that core exercise comes back to play again, because it will help strengthen all those muscles so that the spine can come back into its natural position. And it can take 2 years to get it back in line. I try to liken it to braces, where it takes several years for your teeth to realign because of the ligaments in your teeth, in your jaw. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing with your spine. If it's out of order and it's way pushed forward, your neck is pushed forward, and you're not holding up your pelvic area properly, then your lower spine is holding you up. It's going to take years of all those ligaments and tiny muscles that hold up your spine to come back into place also. But it is doable. As long as the bones have not changed, it can be fixed. And that's the part of the hope that I see with all the special needs children, where they're sitting all day and they're not getting their spinal development kept up. The focus isn't on the bones staying strong so that the muscles have something to use. And you see that with seniors, where they give up and go, oh, well, I'm just getting old. This is how it goes. Oh, no. I work with lots of senior people. It is in your movement. It is keeping your bone health healthy and your spine aligned, your core in place, your muscles talking to your nerves, and nutrition. It's these core blocks, and that's where physical fitness lies. And it's great, that if we have great bodies and all of that, but I find really just the strongest version of you is the best fitness we can have.
Wow, that is fascinating, especially that comparison that you were talking about, putting a photo of somebody in the Western culture versus someone in a tribal culture, or someone who perhaps is a little bit closer to the earth than any of us in the Western culture are. Wow, that's kind of mind-blowing, actually. But it's good to hear that there's still hope.
There
really is. So, is there anything at this point that perhaps that I haven't asked you that you think it's important to discuss, or what do you think are the most important takeaways for our listeners to make sure that they remember from our conversation?
Okay. So I guess the most important I would love someone to walk away with is, if you're talking for yourself, first think about your skeletal health, less injury prevention, and don't have the hopelessness that, oh, well, I've already ruined my body. It's unfixable. Not true. It's fixable. It is totally fixable. It may not be you go into a gym and find the first trainer and they take care of you, because I unfortunately find that that's not true most of the time. But find someone who's more bent towards the mind-body, the physical therapy side of fitness, and sees your body the way it's supposed to be seen, which is a whole system that works together. And when you leave one part out, it doesn't work as well as it could. Now, if you're looking at someone, perhaps a special needs child, or you are looking at a senior parent that you're looking at going, my mom's not doing so good. As long as their bones are not deformed also, there is hope. They can actually move, and the body will respond to it. So there are some special needs children where the actual blood system doesn't function as properly, and they fatigue quicker. But if you just do 5 little minutes of movements a few times a day, that is shown to be beneficial. And like I said, there's several studies that's in the late 90s and one in 2003 that shows that even if they fatigue quicker, you're still better off doing tiny little movements, bursts of little movements of exercise, and just stimulating that nervous system, stimulating the muscles to work in that nervous system is so beneficial for hormones, for bone growth and density. We're not quite talking about later on into the exercising, but I have a client who has increased her bone density by 2% by the workouts we've been doing.
Wow, and that's fantastic.
It is. And that's just because she's consistent. She pays attention to her meals, and she does the exercises that help increase bone density, because she was diagnosed with osteoporosis and she wanted to control it. And so I have her do just a little bit heavier routine than I would most people at that age and what's going on, because she has a specific goal. And so I find that most cases are not hopeless. The reality is, what is your goal? And start thinking of yourself from the inside out. Don't be concerned with, how do I look? And I just want to lose 10 pounds. I've had a client come to me, and she had just lost 60 pounds in less than 6 months. And I already know that's a problem to start with, because if you've lost that much weight that quickly, chances are you were not taking care of your skeletal and your muscular system. And it was really difficult to pull all of those together, because she had just drained her body of everything, and putting her back together took a very long time, because she missed, someone forgot to tell her that while you're losing weight, you need to also take care of these important parts. So it's easy to want to get lost into just weight loss. But really, we're built from the inside out, and that's what I would want people to walk away with is, as you age, we're not condemned to being sedentary, being special needs. We're not condemned to be sedentary. We can move. We're designed for it, and we should work on that. And it's okay that it's uncomfortable, and it hurts, and you sweat, and you breathe heavy. That's okay. It really is. And that's one thing we have to get people over with, too. It's okay that something's uncomfortable. Anything worth anything that is challenging and uncomfortable, but we always look back and never regret it. That's an amazing part, too. I never have a client go, man, I regretted coming here today.
Well, that's a good thing. And I imagine as time goes on, it becomes less uncomfortable and less taxing, because as the body adjusts and as the body gets stronger, it's able to do these things more easily.
Well, yes and no. In theory, that what they started out with does get easier. But if I'm a good trainer, I will always make them come back sweaty and harder because I'm always going to be challenging them. Yes. I've had one like, go, doesn't it get easier? And I'm like, no.
Especially not if you want to stay strong and healthy, right?
Exactly. But even so, when they started out not able to do 1 pound of bicep curls and now they can do 10 pounds, yes, the 1 pound is way easier. But the goal is I just keep them moving up, and they just get more benefits and more benefits from it.
Well, then tell us, how can our listeners reach you if they have questions or they want to know more?
Sure. The best way right now, I'm not a very big outfit. It's just me, and I go around to the gyms and work out and have my clients. But they can go to my website, and it's all one word. It's called themotherathome.com. Themotherathome.com. It's just basically a sentence. THEAT. Oh, I'm sorry. THE mother AT at home.
Okay, themotherathome.com.
And then then I have a place to contact me, and you can contact me through that.
Okay, and if people, are in a different area, they're not perhaps local to where you are geographically located, is there a way for you to help people remotely? I
do online training. Yeah,
okay.
I can do it through FaceTime, Just Talk, and Skype.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Carissa, for your time
and
the terrific information that you've shared.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I also want to thank our listeners for spending a part of their day with us. I'm Gilda Evans, reminding you to take care of yourself and that special person in your life.